I'm good.
How's your
How
day
are
been today?
It's actually been pretty good. I was scrolling through your page and you did a video and all you said was black women are the best and people had quite the visceral reaction to that.
I
So
I was not expecting it to even catch any views. Like I didn't expect it to catch the algorithm. It was 100% out of appreciation and love for the black women in my life. Because what happened is I was mid prayer, literally thanking God for the women in my life, and a lot of them are like music industry people, and they're very supportive and help me, manage the drama of all the shit that I have to go through with the music shit. And so it just came from this really genuine place. And I was like, black women are just the best. I was talking to God, literally being like, they're the best. And then I was like, I want to do like a clip of a video. And I was like, I'll put it in my Instagram stories or whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'll put it in TikTok too. And then it, caught the algorithm. And the amount of like the white fragility has been insane. And also the misogynoir has been, that's actually upset me, I think, more than white people, because I expect white people to be fucking dumb. I expect us to be racist. I expect the worst from white people until they prove otherwise. It's just because like even when I think, oh, this is a white person that doesn't have racism and shit, and then they'll say something and it just falls the fuck out of their mouth, and I'm like, what, like, and they think they can say it to me because I'm white as well, and I'm like, no. But for me, I think when it's bothered me the most is when black men have come on and been like, they're the worst. And I'm like, and I oftentimes I don't even like say anything because I feel like, how do I approach this properly? Because for me, like I'll say something like, and I have done responses where I'm like, this isn't a threat to other women. And I'll even like call people, I'm like, this is inner, misogynoir going on. And it all stems from white supremacy. Like people fail to see how much white supremacy and the patriarchy and colonial, they're all interconnected. And you take out white supremacy and you take out the patriarchy and you take out misogyny and you take out these hierarchies of power and control. But yeah, I was not expecting the response, both positive and negative. And I really have been disappointed in people when it comes to them freaking out over celebrating black women.
I recently kind of had a similar experience. Over the holidays, I went from 15,000 to like 120 something thousand.
And you also did that video where you were like, this page is for black women. Here are the like requirements of being on this page. And I was like, oh, so tell me more about your experience with everything that happened.
Okay, so obviously it's a pagan video. I was like, all right, well, let me do a vibe check. So I just started going
Let me
really
do
hard with
a
the black.
vibe check. Let me do a
Yeah.
vibe check. I love it.
Oh, 100%. I was like, no, no, no. Because, like, I had spent a year basically building up my follower count, and the majority of them were Black people. And these are people who, like, anytime I'm away, they comment, like, they message me, they make sure I'm doing good. Like, they're genuinely, like,
Community.
they're real ones. And they've been there since day one, and this has been, like, a safe space for them. So, I was like, all right, well, we had a bit of a Caucasian invasion, so let me just see if I can kind of vibe it out and see what's going on here, see who's going to be pressed.
I love
So
that
I
so
just
much.
started I just decided to go really hard with the pro black content.
You have a spiritual authority when you speak. Like what you're doing isn't just intellectual, it isn't just psychological. What you're doing is spiritual. Like you have an authority. Like I'm like this one. I'm like I'm legit. Like what was her past life? Was she a queen? Was she a warrior? Because literally have this like something comes over you. I'm like, oh, and I love it. And so really it's really a beautiful thing. And like I bet you all your ancestors are just like cheering you on as you do it too, because you said you've got you're Nigerian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love. Jadena's Nigerian, one of my favorite artists. Do you know Jadena?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
I'm
vibe with.
And yeah, I know him actually. Like I even have a fucking video of him on my phone. Oh yeah,
Is
I'm
he
done.
single currently?
From what I know, he's single because I know he had like a bit of a breakup or whatever. But he's polyamorous. He's a bit of a whore. So which I love. But yeah, so I saw the Nigerian for you. When did you know that you had Nigerian in your blood, like in your heritage?
So I always knew because it was in my adoption records. So I always knew um like what city my dad was from. There was like little write-ups about him. I guess he liked recording himself
Yeah,
and things like that. So father's daughter, I guess.
yeah,
And he was Yoruba and definitely wasn't a Christian practitioner because in Nigeria you kind of have like the tribal religions and then you
yeah,
have Christianity and Islam.
yeah.
And
Sometimes they all get mixed up too, which I think is actually
yeah,
beautiful.
so like my dad had tribal markings. I had a photo of him. And
You're going to get some tribal markings.
with my dad, I just applied for the records. Yeah, so I'm hoping to do a trip to
Nice.
Nigeria in 2023 because by then I should be able to have all the information together to like go meet my family and everything. So I really want to spend time with my family. I know that my grandmother is a witch doctor from.
Remember I said you had power and spiritual authority? That's it right there. You probably come from a long line because you can't just be a witch doctor for no reason. You usually come from, it's usually like something handed down from the family. So no wonder you have the
Yeah.
authority that you have. Like, Izzy, my God, what I really want you to go to Nigeria. My ancestors, they chose to leave. Your ancestors were robbed. They were taken away. So the spiritual authority of going back is even more powerful because there's this call, like where because it's like it's spiritual. People forget how spiritual, like what happened when it came to enslaving all these Africans and everything. Like that was some spiritually fucked up shit.
Oh,
And like
100%.
there's probably still restless spirits all of the time. And I think even in America and stuff, because there was so much trauma and tragedy. And for people who are of the African, diaspora going back, I feel like it's doing something magical. And Jadena himself, he was involved in like encouraging the African diaspora to return. And he was working with an airline company, and there were other artists that were doing it too, a lot of powerful Black people, right? And it was like, and I forget how long it was, but it was within, I think it was like 1 year or 2 years of them working on this, of getting people to go back. It went up by like 300%, because they were, instead of going to Jamaica and stuff, Black people were going back to Africa. And I really, and then the 400-year, just before COVID hit, it was the 400-year anniversary of slavery, and like everyone had, and they called it the year of return.
Did they go to Ghana?
They did.
They
They were
posted
there.
about it on YouTube, yeah? They
Yes, yes,
documented it.
yes.
Yeah, I watched that.
He
I
also had
watched that.
him all the time, and so like there was a lot of power and magical authority. The year of return happening on the 400th year of the anniversary of slavery shit. Come on, like there's a movement in the spirit realm that's happening. That's part of the reason why Black Lives Matter is so powerful and unstoppable right now. We're also in the age of Aquarius. Like things are changing, and everyone talks about, oh, it's the end times, the world is ending. I said this is the end of a cycle. Capitalism is ending, white supremacy is ending, and the patriarchy is ending. Everything's coming, it's coming to a death, and we're entering into a new time. There's spiritual things that are transpiring. And I think, and for me, like when I get frustrated and seeing, all of the shit that white supremacy does, and like the violence and the murder, I remind myself,
Yeah.
there's spiritual things going on, and this is the ending of it. And because there's so many things lining up with it, like with the age of Aquarius, like the stars are literally telling us this. And then, capitalism has an expiry date. and it's ending like in what, 2 more years or 3 more years. And that's why, everything's crashing and stuff. And then coronavirus happening. I'm like, what is, like, there's a lot of spiritual movement right now.
I feel like every generation has made progress. And I feel like this generation is in the position to make the most progress, because that's why I go so hard and I just have that I don't give a fuck energy, because I have the privilege, because of the people who marched before me, of literally looking at a white person in the face and being like, I'm not your nigger. Like fuck off. Like fuck you and your white privilege. Go fuck yourself. Like I don't give a fuck about coddling you, your feelings. Like I can speak to white people in that manner without being immediately murdered, or you know what I mean? Like, and
murdered.
There's power in that. There's power in being able to and to me it's just a way of honoring the people who came before me. Like I get comments from older
that's
I get comments from a lot of older women of color who will be like, oh, I love this generation so much, you guys, like, you guys go so hard, and you guys, like, just don't give a fuck. It's just like, yeah, because of you guys, you gave us the privilege to be able to not give a fuck. You gave us the privilege to be able to, like, stand in the face of white supremacy and say fuck you as loudly as we want to and as often as we can, without immediately endangering our lives. Like, yes, of course, there's still, issues, and like definitely in ways you can definitely be hurt, or
look at Patrice,
but for the most part, like, I can look a white man down the face and tell him to suck my dick, and like I'm not gonna get lynched later that night. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's because of the people who came before me, So, you gotta pay that respect. Just like since George Floyd and everything, I've been having more conversations with my family members, and then I started seeing a Black therapist as well, and that kind of really, if you're Black and going to therapy, get a Black therapist, period. A white therapist is not going to relate to your experience. They'll be very dismissive of it, in fact. So most of my therapists, like, growing up, were white men or white women, and I got my first
therapist. I hate white men therapists. They are so toxic because
narcissist. Yeah, like I got my first Black therapist, and we started doing work about just like, my identity issues growing up, and just like my family's approach to addressing my sister and I's Blackness and things like that. And like I never really been asked questions about it, and had to do like the internal kind of work through of that. And I kind of started realizing, like, okay, yeah, there are things here that are problematic. There are things here that don't really make sense. There's a privilege and there's a responsibility, and a very serious responsibility to raising a child of color, especially as a white person who's raising a child of color. Because no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, you'll never ever be able to fully relate to your child's experience, but you can at the very least, approach it in a way where they feel supported and loved through those experiences. Even though you might not be able to relate, you can still, there's so many things. Like, if my mom had taken the time to learn how to do my hair instead of just cutting it off, that would have meant a lot to me. They're doing like racial, I guess, like awareness training for parents who are adopting Black children. Like, I think it's definitely something that should have been implemented much earlier. I don't understand why they wouldn't look at that situation and be like, there could be some issues here. Like, I have a borderline personality disorder, and my therapist says that that's like a direct result of growing up as a transracial adoptee.
It's the coping mechanism that you had to develop in order to handle the trauma of your childhood. Work that you're doing for yourself is like, once again, it's not just emotional, it's spiritual shit that you're doing, because you're breaking cycles and you're like getting free of things. And like, there's something radical about a Black person going to therapy, because like, it's like you guys are told and taught not to go. And it's and so often I hear the Black community saying, oh, it's a thing within the Black community, you know, to not go to therapy, it's shamed upon. I was like, that's not Black community, that's white supremacy.
It's white supremacy working according to design.
White supremacy.
It's white supremacy working according to design, because if white
That
people
sounds
were
like a
really,
post there.
yeah, like if they were really sorry, they would understand the trauma consistently
Yes.
across generations of Black people
Yes.
that they have caused. And at some point, if they actually felt bad about it, they would look at that situation and be like, look, we've done so much harm for these people. If we're not going to give them reparations, at the very least, we should give them free mental health.
Yeah.
Like, period. If you're Black and living in North America, you should be able to see a therapist for free.
For free.
Period. And they will never do that. And the reason being is, if you have Black people, all of us, simultaneously going through therapy or actually breaking these generational curses and generational trauma, white supremacy is not going to stand a chance.
Exactly.
It's not going to stand a chance. A lot of people of color suffer from severe mental health issues that are a result of generational trauma and a direct result of white supremacy. It's the last tool that they have, is inflicting mental trauma.
The physical, actual, like the physicality of white supremacy is breaking down. It's not as dominant as it was. So now they want to dominate the mind. And that's
exactly
why they just don't want to dominate the minds of Black people, though. They want to dominate the minds of white people. They want to keep us ignorant and keep us blinded. Because when white people finally like, oh, wait a second, this white supremacy shit's real. This white supremacy shit's fucked up and it's not okay. That's going to be when it's really coming down. Black people have been doing the work for generations, and it's white people's turn and fucking time to show up and do the work that Black people have been doing for too long, because we're the ones responsible for this shit. So we have to address these things. We have to have these discussions about race, and we have to be the ones to do the labor. That's why they're freaking out in my comment section when I say that Black women are the best.
Yeah, I like, that's the thing, is these white people on my page like really be coming on my page like, oh, she don't got time. She's probably not even gonna see this comment or whatever. But like, no, I'm like a dog, like with like the sniffing sense of white supremacy and white fragility, and I just sniff it out. I'm like, whew, yes, I found the comment. I found it. And I found your Facebook. Oops.
Yeah, the one with the white with the white fragility, and the chick kept calling you bitch. She's like, she thinks she ate it. And then you're like, I hope your job with the like it was like she worked,
yeah, it was with Legal Shield.
Oh, it was beautiful. Like, and I just sit there, and I oftentimes I'm like this, I go, and I also cheer. I'm like, yes, like I actually cheer. You are a professor with tenure at the University of Clapbacks. Like, it's so like, you're inspiring. I'm like, you know what I want to acknowledge too is like, you inspire me in my womanhood when it comes to taking authority and taking up my space and using my voice. Like, the power that you tap into, it's like I see that in you, and it's like I want to see this in myself, and I really just want to like lift you up in that, because as women, like, there's too much of that fucking like petty jealousy and shit, right? Which is totally not me, but I really want to like, yeah, it's just not my way. Like, when people are like, but I've never been jealous of other women for their looks, or I'm like, I don't fucking understand this shit. Like, what are you talking about? But I
don't know if for me it's because I'm bisexual, but I just like, I admire other women. That's just always been a thing. Like, I've never looked at what, like, I might like joke around, be like, sis, I hate you. You look too good today. Like, fuck off. Like, you know, but like,
yeah, it's fun. It's cheeky, you know. But like,
yeah,
it's like just uplifting other women. Like, there's power in it, and so I just want to acknowledge, like, you inspire me to be like even stronger as a woman, and thank you for that. I appreciate.
Thank you.
Black women are the best.
Black women are the best, and y'all can stay pressed. I don't, like, honestly.
As fellow white women, you can literally just shut the fuck up. It's fine. Like, you just don't have to say anything. Like, that's something for me. I'm like, when Black women are speaking, just sit there and listen and let them teach you. Like, you're only going to come better and more enriched because of Black women, period. Like, where, like,
Honestly, we should start a trend doing that. I'm just gonna start walking into public places and turn on my TikTok, like record myself, like Black women are the best. Like just in the middle of the grocery store or something. I don't know. Like
I'll do it.
I'll do
I
it
will.
too.
Okay, we should do it because, like,
Let's do it.
we'll start doing. I'll make it like a thing. Also, just randomly in the parking lot, I'll yell it, or even in the field when no one's there. I could still vibe check.
I don't know. Like it's crazy. One of the comments that I got, actually, how you were saying like the misogynoir in your comment section was just like out of control. One of the comments I got that I actually felt the need to respond to on that post was a Black man who came in. It was just like, okay, so no Black men, no Asians. So I was just like, sir, what we're not gonna do is turn my love for Black women into bias. Like that's not what we're doing here. And if you can't click what it was I was saying, or just click back on the comment and look at the context of the situation, like,
Yeah.
sir, no, we're not doing that. Like we are not playing games.
This was something
Because
it's something that I've noticed that they do. It's a type of like psychological tactic, right? Is what it is. It's a form of manipulation. It's a kind of gaslighting. I call it white supremacist semantics. But one of the things that I've noted is how it's like if they don't want to learn from it, they're just going to choose to stay there. And so it's like knowing, and for me, like when I've done responses, because and another one that I didn't expect to catch the algorithm, I went off on this chick in my comment section saying, it was about Black women, and oh yeah, she's like, why can't you say white women are the best? Because if you say white women are the best, then there's going to be a problem. And I went off. I was like, there's a history of it, and and that one has got like a lot of views
look at
too.
any fashion magazine or beauty campaign
Exactly.
over the past forever.
Exactly. And so what? Listen, what if I actually do favor Black women over everybody else? What harm does that actually cause to anybody? Zero. None whatsoever. If I as a white
Affects your
woman,
life in no way.
it's literally not causing any harm whatsoever, not psychologically, not socially, not when it comes to like economically. But when you favor white people, it does affect people in that way.
I feel like mental health awareness has come so much more to the forefront, especially when it comes to women. Women have really been doing a lot of self-discovery and just, working on their emotional intelligence and things like that. And I feel like, it's now gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, if I can identify it, I can call it out now. Like before, like when I think back on my experience growing up, like I was gaslit all day, every day, like But at the time, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know But when I was able to put a name to it and recognize it, that put power behind my ability to push back. Because if I can identify what you're doing now, when I'm at a family reunion and a family member starts gaslighting me, I'll be like, you're gaslighting. Are you done deflecting? Like I'll call out exactly what they're doing as they're doing it. So when I call it out and I put a name to it, that puts like power behind it. Like, no, you are doing something to me right now. This is what it's called, and it is not okay. So you need to stop.
Even when it comes to, within white supremacy, we white women have a role that we're supposed to play. And we have to be submissive and we have to shut the fuck up. And the only time that we actually are supposed to speak up is speaking up against people of color. And it's because white supremacy and patriarchy are the same they're part of the same three-headed monster of colonialism, Christianity, and white supremacy. It's all interconnected. The number one perpetrators of sexual assault and rape are white men. The serial killers are white men. The most violent is the violence and
crimes
has a gender, and the gender is male, and it's white males. Yeah, and like Ben Shapiro is such a dick. I can't stand him. My older brother like worships him. Idiot. I don't understand it. Like, have you noticed that when it comes to like the far right men, they worship other white men? Have you noticed that?
Yes.
They're like, where I'm like, you're fucking gay for him. You're closeted
And
gay.
like black men are starting to
Do it too.
yeah, Kevin Samuels.
The guy who's like the 5'1" guy.
No. Oh,
Ooh,
you don't know who Kevin Samuels is?
I don't.
Girl, Google him. You're welcome.
Oh no, what's gonna
You're
happen?
welcome.
Evan Samuels.
He's the black Ben Shapiro.
Oh God. That's
Yeah.
just, I don't know if I will. Maybe.
Like if Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson had a baby and that baby was black,
I don't want to know. I don't.
it,
And
it would be, yeah,
I just find it. I
Kevin
find it
Samuels.
disappointing when black men perpetuate the patriarchy, because I'm like, dude, you're perpetuating white supremacy and you don't even know it, and it breaks my heart. I'm like, you could be happier if, you know. I don't know. I don't know what the threat is. They just freak out over shit. Make no sense to me. Makes no.
That's a lot.
All right. Well, it is 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I need to like wash this off and get to sleep. But it was lovely meeting you and chatting.
Okay.
All right. Well, bye, girl. Nice meeting you.
Yes,
Thanks, everybody, for stopping by.